Hey, had another weird week, as always. Here it is. I put it in my wallet. Because if I put it anywhere else, it would have been smashed, probably. So this week, I encountered a lady who claimed to be a prophet. Um, she looks like an old, big bird. You know, when people get older, they start to look like different things in a crazy mind like I have. I start to associate people with birds and cats and trees and stuff. So um, I'm just going to call this the Prophet Bird Woman. Um, this is her writing here. She wrote this. There's a lot here. Um, but yes, the Prophet Bird Woman, just like how, I called her, I think of her as Bird Woman. I mean, that makes it easier for me to remember them, but it might be insulting to them. So I apologize. Just like how Brother Anthony, I think of Anthony as the latest Steven Seagal movie. Steven Seagal goes to Thailand and, he's born again. Um, he was the greatest Australian martial artist in Australia, but he gets exiled to Thailand and he becomes a pastor in Thailand, but he's also, like a 10th degree Taekwondo expert, and he ends up having to fight all the Thai human trafficking thing. So secretly, so at daytime he's a pastor and he's preaching the gospel, he's handing out the gospel in the daytime. At nighttime, he becomes Steven Seagal, fighting crime in Thailand. That's how my brain works. That helps me remember people. But anyway, I know that's ridiculous. But anyway, the Prophet Bird Woman. She told me her name, but I didn't catch it in time as she was leaving. She was very happy to talk to me. Um, we had a good conversation about the King James Bible. She always waits for the next door store. She has to wait until 10 o'clock on Saturday morning to go in there. She likes shopping next door. So she comes into my store to get a few things. Um, and I commented to her, yeah, you still got like 20 minutes to kill before you can get in there. She's ringing out at like 9:35, but they open at 10. And I said to her, yeah, they got some nice stuff there. I bought some Bibles there the other day. You know, really nice Bibles. Like the one was like a microscopic print. It's like an eighth the size of this Bible, more like a 16th the size of this Bible, and it's like super small print. It's like just a little thing. You can almost, it's a little purse type Bible for some old lady to have a little dinky Bible in a purse or something. I could probably put it in this pocket. But anyway, that was only like $3. And they had other Bibles there, but I only bought two. I bought that one, and then I bought this one with like a purple outside to it, and it looked ancient. The paper was like on ancient paper from, I don't know, but both really nice King James Bibles. And I told her that I made those purchases there at the next door store, and she was like, yes, but you must be careful because most of the other Bibles they sell are satanic Bibles, so you better not, like the Mormon Bible, the Satanist Bible, this Bible, the NIV, the NLT, the blah blah blah, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Bible of body lifting, all these other Bibles are all garbage. And She said that to me. I'm like, oh yes, I should have clarified to you. Yes, those two Bibles were King James, you know. So we had a little discussion, and she says something that needs to be had a conversation about, obviously, but I don't know. I guess we have to think it through. But anyway, so she says all these Bibles are corrupt that they sell, and she brings up how the churches are corrupted because of that aspect. And she starts talking about the Old Testament, and she says to me, a lot of these churches in the area only look at the New Testament. And I knew where she was going with this, you know. And she made the statement that you have to obey the law in order to be saved. That was her perspective. Now she's saying that because these churches ignore the Old Testament completely and they probably allow homosexuality in their church. They allow any number of different sins into the church. And by ignoring those sins and not even staring them in the face and condemning them or trying to repent of them or think about it, you know, this is a sin, confront it head on, that this is a sin and this does not belong in the church, you know. Rather than doing that, they're ignoring the problem. So I think she's looking at it from that perspective by making a statement like that, because the church is ignoring it completely. And I'd say our society in general is ignoring it completely, the lawlessness we see. What did my president do on the 4th of July? How'd you like your 4th of July this week? Did you like the president's son smoking it up right on camera, right in front of you? Does that seem like we're a godly group of people? They're Catholic, by the way, right? Now, when we're in a time period of complete lawlessness, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, we were given the grace of God, but grace is not a license to sin and to break the law. And my brother said to me when I told him this whole thing, he said, yes, I mean, we follow the spirit of the law. When I make a mistake, I feel bad about it, and I don't choose to walk in sin and to intentionally break the law and to break the 10 commandments every 10 seconds, but I have my problems, as you know, and but I'm confronting them, and I know what my problems are, and yeah, I don't want to live in those behaviors and those thoughts. I want Christ to walk with me and to teach me and guide my life, you know. I don't, versus, okay, I'm a flawed human being, it's obvious, but there's that, and then, and recognizing where my shortcomings are, but then here's the church, you walk into the church, and they completely ignore that there's a problem sitting right there, you know, that I have a problem, you know. No, there is no problem. Jesus fixed it already, so we don't have any problems, right? Is that how we should look at it? Is that the spirit of the law today, or are you ignoring completely the law? I think that's the issue, really. And that's where she has a point. So anyway, she gave me these notes here. I'll just go through them from, she's got a lot here, but what she was saying, I mean, what you should recognize, if you read the Bible, you have 66 books, and that's what I said to her, you know. You have 66 books, so there's a lot of Old Testament there. And there's a lot in the Old Testament that you see in the New Testament, you know. So the Old Testament is foundational. On BitChute, I have people yelling at me like every day, commenting and saying to me, "The New Testament is where it's at. And you started in the Old Testament, you're reading through the whole Bible on BitChute? What is wrong with you? Disgusting." And they think like that you're just supposed to ignore the Old Testament. Ignore it. The law? Pfft. There ain't no law today, law dog. Now I'm thinking of like a Western, like Tombstone, you know, Law Dog. Or what I'm going to title this video is the Judge Dredd title, you know. You betrayed the law! And Judge Dredd, you know, he's judge, jury, and executioner. That's what you're going to have soon. When you're living in an age of no law whatsoever, people begin to forget completely about where grace comes from and how important Christ is and what Christ died for. You're just becoming the animal. Well, that's too far. You're just. The point is, this is a Bible, and it has 66 books in it. And the law is still important, and you don't just forget it and ignore it. Just because Christ gave his life and saved you doesn't mean you can now become as abominable as an unsaved person or the person outside the church, you know. You're just as bad, if not worse. Hypocrite. You sound like a Pharisee. Anyway, let's go to her first note here. I just made it to 2 Kings in my Bible reading. So we're going to Matthew chapter 5. We'll just read it and think about it and try to think about what she's talking about. But I may have a counter argument to her, which I think I know where I'm going to go with my argument, but we'll see. And I'm sure Steven Seagal will have his points. Thank you, Brother Seagal. You're amazing. Taking you to the blood bank. Matthew chapter 5, 17 through 20. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. That's what I said to her. She was very happy talking to me. I think she's kind of disgusted with me because I didn't have time to shave. This was Sunday. That was yesterday. Man. Wait. Man, yesterday was a long day. No, this was Saturday. I'm sorry. No. It was Saturday. They close on Sundays, the store next door. So this was Saturday morning. Okay. But anyway, I still didn't have time to shave between the 2 days. So when I get home, I'm completely lazy and I didn't feel like shaving. So even though I'm an embarrassment to look at, she still was happy talking to me. So at least looks are not that important to her, or cleanliness. But anyway, yes, I said that to her. He came to fulfill the law. You don't just ignore the law. The law doesn't exist. I wear that red sash. I don't obey the law. I rob banks. It's like everybody today. Bunch of cowboys wearing the red sash. That's why I like Tombstone so much. Isn't that horrible? Okay. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Why is it so important to read the Old Testament? Prophecy. Duh! And she calls herself a prophet. Are there prophets today? Did I meet a prophet on Saturday morning? I don't know. She's a nice bird woman. Old bird lady. Prophet. Is that insulting? I'm sorry if I'm insulting you also, Pastor Segal. It's just, it helps me to visualize what you do in Thailand. I teach the gospel in the day, and we fight crime at night. That's what we do. Till all be fulfilled. Prophecy. We did a thing on the board not that long ago talking about Peter Stoner and his statistical improbability of all prophecy being correct. And when you mathematically look at all of it, all the data, it's just an astronomical number how the Bible has been right every time. And that's really what the emphasis should be from a lot of these pastors and a lot of these people that doubt the Bible. The mathematics associated with it are just, it shows that the Bible is real and it's the truth, and you can't ignore it. I mean, everybody's tried to disprove the Bible. There's been a lot of people that try to disprove the Bible, and as they try to disprove it, they end up believing it. But the majority of my generation and people around me today, they just listen to some piece of garbage that taught me in either college or high school, complete garbage that put into their brain that the Bible's compromised, or isn't that so intolerant how the Bible, the Old Testament, how that talks about wiping out Amalekites? Isn't that sickening? How could you read such a book? What, do you just want to wipe out a group, an argument like that? And then they instill in the child's mind, and they ruin this child. They make them think, oh, so the Bible's compromised, and now I'm smarter than the Bible. And they start thinking like that, Every one of my generation sounds like that. They're all blank holes. Sorry. (19) Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. What was I just talking about? Teachers all throughout my life that made children compromise themselves or doubt the validity of the Bible. I think of a history teacher. He mocked the Bible. I think that guy is going to be in a lot of trouble. But I had so many teachers that were just like that. And then I had a sociology teacher. This guy was incredible. I mean, he was a wacko just like me, and he was a Detroit Lions fan. But he was funny, but he came up with this line about God, why he believed in God. And I don't remember it. My brother told it to me once. My brother should repeat the story sometime in front of this camera. It was something to do with like slipping in the shower and cracking his head or something, and then he just said, "Ah, that's God," you know. So this guy believed in God at least, and at least he shared that with his students. But most of my teachers were either hypocrites, liberal communists, or atheists, evolutionists, and they probably screwed up a lot of kids. It's pretty horrible. 20. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. Well, think about what I was saying initially, right? If I ignore the law, the Old Testament doesn't even exist. Let's say I think like that, and I just say grace and everything is forgiven already. I can go have sex in the temple with whatever I want, and it's fine anyway because Jesus has already forgiven me and he continues to forgive me, and everything's fine anyway. I don't have to follow the law anyway because Jesus fulfilled the law, so the law is irrelevant because I'm saved already, so I can live as how I want. I'm saved, whatever. You know what you sound like? You sound like exactly like what Jesus says about the Pharisees being hypocrites, right? Hypocrite. You say one thing and you teach the law that it's good, but then you go and break it immediately, you know? Or you ignore it, which is what she was complaining about with the churches today. And she was also talking about Freemasonry, how the churches have been infiltrated by Freemasonry, and that makes sense because if they're infiltrated by that program, they're probably under their ownership, and they're forced to teach only certain doctrine, maybe, or certain perspectives, maybe certain politics, or ignore political issues, which aren't political issues, they're real issues. But they've been told that they can't talk about politics because this election is all about abortion. Therefore, that's the number one topic. Therefore, you can't talk at all about abortion in your sermon. And they do it like that, and then you can't talk about abortion? What? Anyway, there's a few notes here. I'm going to start with this 5:17, this verse here. The law here refers to the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses. The prophets not only include the major and minor prophets, they include all the prophets in the historical and wisdom books as well. I agree. Right? I mean, it's the whole Old Testament. There are so many verses that I'm too dumb to realize that they're a reference to something prophetical, you know. But I know they're there, but, you know, like I said, I'm not. But you keep reading it, so, you know, you're going to get it eventually. But if you just ignore it and don't even, well, it's not part of prophecy, so I don't need it. That's a problem. 66 books. King James Bible. Where was I? E.g. Deborah, Samuel, Gad, David, Elijah, and Elisha. Verses 17 and 18 are saying that everything in the Old Testament that has not yet been fulfilled will be fulfilled in the future. Right. If you ignore it, how are you going to know that, you know, what's going on? You're supposed to be paying attention here. You're not supposed to be like, well, it's coming anyway. Whatever. I'm going to do this. Do. Just ignore it. That includes the return of Jesus Christ to destroy the United Nations, thank God, and set up a literal, physical, visible kingdom on this earth with its capital at Jerusalem, contrary to every Catholic, communist, amillennialist, I can speak, postmillennialist, and New Age, one world, global citizen. Would you like to be a global citizen today, citizen? Like, you won't earn anything, and you'll be happy being a slave with your stupid smile. Something like that. Have you seen that commercial? Global citizen. Citizen 10847845247. You have broken the law. You will be liquefied. That's where I'm going. Okay, there's a note on 19. Let's reread 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. She wrote down just like 100 verses here, which is like 5. So this might take me a while to talk about this, but let's read the rest of this note and then we'll stop. While there are many great spiritual truths for the Christian in verses 21 through 48, there is no Christian, including those who teach the Sermon on the Mount, is for us today. Oh, including those who teach the Sermon on the Mount is for us today, that keeps these commandments. So this is where I agree with Ruckman and I agree with other preachers, you know. I'm honest about my shortcomings, you know. I kind of said that earlier. Like, for example, this week, I have this beautiful lady came in and she returned a heating pad, and this woman was amazing, and I didn't even really care if she was lying to me or not. She was just so beautiful that you kind of lose your mind. And while that's happening, this younger girl that's in her 20s comes up to me, and I ring her out, and they're right there, both of them, right in front of me. I'm like, God help me, you know? This is nuts. And so anyway, with how I am, you know, I'm attracted to them, but maybe I have an inappropriate thought or something like that. That's where I would kind of say, am I keeping these commandments by having a inappropriate thought about these young ladies? Or another lady that came earlier that day, she's like a supermodel. It's ridiculous. She's blonde, little, but she's like, well, she's perfect basically, but she smiles like all the time, and she's perfect. But how am I supposed to function in this environment and not have an inappropriate thought? Or what if they're married, you know? And I have some inappropriate thought. I don't want to have that kind of thought, you know, but maybe I do. Does that mean that I'm as bad as the person that's going to the temple, having his temple prostitute every night or whatever he's doing, you know? But I recognize that the thought is incorrect and the thought is inappropriate. But that's me, and then there's another perspective, you know, that maybe that's her perspective. Alex, If you have an inappropriate thought, you're going to burn in hell because you are inappropriate and you have to keep the commandments. But how do I do that when two beautiful women come in at the same time and they're just ridiculous? And, oh my God. How do I do this? Let's read the rest of this note. That keeps these commandments as they are taught. Okay. That keeps these commandments as they are taught by Christ. Look at verse 22. If you did say Raka, what counsel would you be in danger of? Christ and Paul were no more worried about calling someone a fool than they were worried about being in danger of hellfire. See Matthew 23:17, 19, Luke 24:25. Is that one of the verses she gave me? No, she says Luke 16. So we'll get to that next week. Luke 24:25, 1 Corinthians 15:36. No Christian brings any gift to any altar in the New Testament. You can't escape hell by plucking out your eye or cutting off your hand. See? Is that what I'm supposed to do? Become the one-eyed merchant clerk at the store? Because, man, cutting my hand off and my eye and my foot also, because why don't these women just dress like Mormon women or whatever? Not Mormon women. What are they? The Mennonites or whatever? The Amish. Why can't... See? Isn't this horrible? Now I'm making it so bad for women now. They're so beautiful, but you're so beautiful that... Put a shirt on, please. But that's... Never mind. These Christian celebrities defend themselves in court when a lawsuit is brought against them. They just don't automatically cave in and give the plaintiff everything he wants. No Christian is perfect, just like God. That's what I'd say about this bird woman, you know, or like me. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I use profanity. Sometimes I try not to, and I apologize usually right after I do it. I have inappropriate thoughts. Yeah, I'm not perfect. But does this bird woman prophet? Does she claim to be perfect? That would be my counter argument to her. And if she actually is not perfect, then she's a sinner like me, and based on her standard that you have to obey the law, means she's going to go to hell the same as me, which is... So is everybody going to hell then? You know? It's got to be some other... Maybe she didn't mean it like that. Maybe she was just emphasizing to me the immorality in the church and the ignorance of the Old Testament in the church, which is certainly true. So it's crazy. I recognize what she's talking about, but at the same time, is she perfect? Am I perfect? She doesn't seem perfect. She can be kind of rude on the register, I'll tell you that. I notice little intricate details when you're ringing people out. She's not perfect. She can be kind of a snob sometimes, but maybe she doesn't realize it, you know. But maybe in her viewpoint she's perfect. But in my viewpoint, she is sinfully being nasty to me, as so many other people are nasty to me, but it's fine, you know. But is she perfect? Am I perfect? Okay. No Christian is perfect just like God. Philippians 3:12. And if he were, he wouldn't say he was. Job 9:20. Right. Job 9:20, I think that's where he says that even if I said I was perfect, I would be showing myself perverse, right? By saying you're perfect, you are. Something like that. I know I'm paraphrasing, sorry. We could go there, but I'm trying to finish up here. If he was, you don't forgive to be forgiven, Matthew 6:12. As a Christian, you forgive because you have been forgiven. Amen. Ephesians 4:32. You are forgiven by God at salvation by faith in Jesus Christ. Colossians 2:12 through 13. You are forgiven by God after salvation by confessing your sins. 1 John 1:9. And no Christian who has any sense prays for the kingdom to come. Matthew 6:10. Apart from praying for the return of his Savior first, so to set up the circumstances to usher in that kingdom. Titus 2:13, 1 Timothy 6:14 through 15, 1 Thessalonians 1:10, 2 Timothy 4:8. How about that? Well, we're going to continue. I'm sorry I didn't finish the Romans study. Maybe we'll get back to that. I left the note there. But yeah, we have a lot to look at here. So we'll get back to it next week. But I got through the first topic. So we got way more to look at here. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed day.